Yeah, it's because people just don't like being bad at things. But it's
That's right.
funny because most people that are afraid of being bad at things are mediocre at most things. You know what I mean?
Yes, yes. So I try to encourage people all the time. Like, do you realize most American or most millionaires in America are self-made? So this idea that people have that everyone's just uh, if they're wealthy, it's because they were handed wealth.
Bullshit.
Well, yeah, most people are self-made, and most millionaires in America are C students.
Mhm.
And do you know why? Because a lot of people who are A students who are perfectionists, right? They don't ever start anything. They don't want to take the risk because it's never good enough, right? Whereas, you know, if you're a risk taker, you're just going to go for it. You're just going to get it done. Let's just see what
Yep.
happens.
So, welcome everybody. Thank you for tuning in to another episode of Obsidian Achievement. As always, this is your host, Michael Russin. With me today, I have a very special guest. It's actually only the third person ever that I've let on the podcast. You guys know that I'm very picky about the types of people that I want you guys to hear from and listen to. And right now, we're getting about anywhere from 10 to 15,000 unique listeners a week, which isn't bad. I would like to see that be, 100,000 to 200,000 a day at some point, but we'll take 10 to 15,000 a week. And I feel like I have the responsibility to make sure that anybody that I put in front of you guys is going to be somebody that's vetted, that's going to give you value and the right type of content. And Anthony Diehl here, we just met somehow cross paths on, I think originally maybe Instagram and then Facebook and Twitter, and just watching what he's posted, resonates with a lot of the same stuff I tell you guys frequently. From what I understand, you are, and I'll have you go into more specifically what it is that you do, but he coaches athletes, specifically bodybuilders. I can't tell you how many posts I've seen him make where I'm like, dude, this is the same person, like the before and after, or like, dude, that was only 2 months. Just that girl the other day with their legs, her quads were like 1.5 times bigger after 2 months. He's also a husband. He's a father. You're a homeschooler too, right? Which is,
That's
yeah,
right. That's right.
homeschooling father, very devout Christian. Um, and just an all around good man. So, entrepreneur, Christian, uh, dad, husband. You know what I mean? He really checks all the boxes for the type of person that, I want to be around personally, the type of person that I want you guys to hear from. So, man, it's an honor to spend some time with you today, Anthony. And I'm excited to dig in over the next half hour, 45 minutes, hour, however long we go for. So, thank you for joining me today, my friend.
Yeah, man. I didn't realize that you had such a tight fencing of who comes on your podcast. I feel honored. I'm
Oh
excited.
yeah. Yeah, we had I've had one other. I had an Orthodox Christian priest
Awesome.
a couple months ago, and then before him, I had a gentleman named Dr. Trevor Bachmeyer, he lost, I believe, one lung to cancer, uh,
Wow.
and he's in phenomenal shape. Smashworks is his Instagram with an X at the end, but he's in phenomenal shape. You know him?
Yes, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, as soon as you said Smashworks, I'm like, oh, I know that guy.
Yeah, I figured you being in the industry you're in, you probably heard of him. But yeah, he was a cancer survivor, lost a lung. So he came on and talked about mental toughness in business, and now he's a multimillionaire and things like that. So he was our first guest. But yeah, fiercely protective of the types of people that I have. I've had my wife on before on road trips and stuff like that. But other than that, you're the third person we've ever had on. So I appreciate you joining me today. And I just
Yeah,
wanted to
man.
hear,
I'll try to live up to the hype here. I
yeah,
appreciate it.
dude, I'm sure you will. I have no doubt, man. And I just wanted to, maybe you can give the background, or the viewers here, a little bit of background as to who you are, what you do, history, whatever you want to get into as an intro, my friend.
Yeah, okay. Let me try to keep this short here. As you already mentioned, husband, father. In a former life, I was a pro strongman for a lot of years. So I shifted out of strongman into bodybuilding. I also compete in jujitsu. I've always loved competing. I was a fat kid most of my life, And in college, I lost 90 pounds in 6 months, and I did it the completely wrong way. But that's okay because I learned a lot, and I was insistent that I was going to change, and so I did. I remember I went to college in northern Wisconsin. I have a degree in theology, and so I woke up one day and I said, "This is insane. I've got to change." And I went to the gym, and I said, I'm going to run as many laps as I possibly can around this gym until I can. I made it 6 laps. I'm like, I ran
Was
like,
that like how big was it? Was it a quarter of a mile lap or?
bro, no, it was like a basketball court.
Oh,
It was horrible. Yeah, man.
smart,
And
smart.
so it's
We've come a long
this
way.
is yeah, yeah. And so I just added a lap every day. I knew nothing about fitness and nutrition at the time. I knew nothing about nutrition. And so I said, okay, cool. I'm 6 days a week, meat and vegetables. That's all I'm gonna eat. Didn't count calories, didn't track macros, just meat and veggies. And then one day a week, I would have one meal where I ate whatever I wanted and then just get right back
Cheat
on
meal.
it. Well, I lost all this weight super fast. And I started running. I went from like lazy kid to super hardcore runner. And I actually got a hip injury. It kind of wore away some of the cartilage in my hip. And that's what led me into the gym because I was scared I was going to get fat again. And a buddy invited me into the gym, and I realized, hey man, like I'm built to be strong. Like I got strong fast within my first year, never having touched weights. I was repping out 300 pounds. And I realized, hey, that inner fat kid, we can channel that. Like the double-edged sword here is yeah, I can put on fat pretty fast, but I can also put on muscle and strength pretty quickly.
Right.
So anyways, long story short, became a professional strongman, started strength coaching probably back in about 2014. So coming up on a decade. I've been full time since 2018. I do coach athletes. I have a couple strongman athletes still. One of my guys just won the qualifiers, so he'll be going to the World Championships in December. I do coach bodybuilders, but I would say the biggest demographic is just my lifestyle clients, man. I've got
Yeah.
um, probably 70% of my client base is just lifestyle folks who want to be healthy and be here for their grandkids.
So just like not normal in a disparaging way, but people that aren't competing,
That's right.
normal
That's
everyday.
right. Absolutely. So the soccer mom who wants to lose 30 pounds, I've got a couple ladies who were pregnant, postpartum, the CEO who just wants to be fit, mentally sharp. Yeah, just yeah, like as you said, not a disparaging way, just normies.
Yeah. Yep. People that aren't like getting ready to go on stage or training for decathlons or anything like
That's
that.
right.
Very
That's
cool.
right.
Very cool. What do you so backing up when you were a strong man, what were some of your more impressive like feats of strength? You know, maybe
Yeah.
a deadlift number or something like that.
So strongman events were always 5 events. Usually it was like 2 static strength events and 3 moving type events. So I did win America's Strongest Man in 2020. So that was probably like that was the peak of my kind of career
That's
there.
amazing.
Yeah, it was pretty awesome. I expected to do well at that competition because I had an amazing training cycle. I honestly did not think I was going to win. Like my hope was to podium.
Yeah.
It was a 2 day competition. At the end of day one, I had a 4 point lead going into day two. I was like, oh man, I could do this. So the pressure was really on. So it really depends. I guess I've hit a 400 pound overhead press out of a rack. I think my best log clean and press is like 380.
Yeah.
Um, Deadlift from the floor, I was never that great. Like my best from the floor is like 740, but we would oftentimes pull from various heights. So I've pulled 1,000 pounds from like 18 inches for like a set of six,
Yeah.
um, stuff like that. Like the year that I won America's Strongest Man, we had a basket deadlift, so it's like on a lever. The weight in hand at the top was like 675.
Got
So
you.
I pulled that for 12 reps in a minute to win that event. So a strongman is not a lot of max numbers, but rather like reps, heavy reps, things like that. So
So it's almost
I've
like you got
loaded.
to be like super strong, but also have pretty damn good cardio. It's not.
Well, we used to joke around and say that strongman was CrossFit for men.
Yeah. That's good.
Yes.
Yes. It sounds like it. You know what I mean? It sounds like a
Yeah.
way cooler version of CrossFit. That's
Yeah.
great.
Yeah.
And you said a 400-pound overhead press.
Yes, sir. One time I got 400 pound out of the rack and it flew up so fast. It's so funny. everyone was like, bro, you have so much more in the tank. I'm like, no, no. One of the marks of a good lifter is when they hit a max attempt, it will look very clean, and
Hmm.
it will look to the untrained eye like they have so much more in them, but they know, hey, no, that was it. That was
That
everything
was
I
it.
had.
Let's
We are
stop pushing.
done. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
I mean, because that's a lot of times the ego starts to get creep in, and then before you know it, you wind up with a debilitating injury that could have otherwise been avoided. You
That's
know,
right. That's right. I do have one lift that haunts me. So in strongman, everything's front loaded, right? Log presses out in front of you, stones are out in front of you, farmers
right?
carries are out in front of you. So you do a lot of front squats. So I got stupidly strong at front squats. And my best ever, I went for, I got it. I got a 585 front squat. It still haunts me that I didn't go
Insane.
for six. I wanted to go for six. And I'm like, I should have done it.
Did you just bang one out and say I got it, or
Oh, it was the, I mean, when I look back at the video, I think the speed, I think I might have had 600 pounds. But dude, let me just tell you what, 585 in a front rack position, what my soul was getting crushed.
no? I bet that's brutal.
I
That's
had like
insane.
three spotters. Yeah, like
Did you
so
have the bar loaded up in like the crease of your shoulders when you were
that's
doing
right.
it?
Yep, yep, right
Yeah.
here. I
Yep.
don't have the mobility to do it in the rack
Me
position, so I
neither.
always
I
crossed
can't do it
arms.
that way either.
Yeah, so right here, just like that.
Yeah. Yeah, that's how I do my front squats too. I can't get my wrists back. I feel like
No.
my forearms are gonna tear when I try
Yeah,
to.
exactly. No, no, zero chance we're doing any of that mess like
What do
this.
you what would you say? So you said you're a jujitsu competitor,
That's
strongman
right.
background, you're obviously got a bodybuilder build for sure. What's your mobility on a scale of 1 to 10?
-4.
-4? Is that
I'm
something
working on it. I'm working
I,
on it big time.
that's why
Do
I
you,
wanted to ask, because I'm going to start working more on my mobility here pretty soon too.
yeah, I just on my Instagram today I posted like I was doing single leg box jumps. I was doing some single leg Bulgarian Hatfield squats. I'm starting to stretch more. I'm getting into running again. So now that I'm done competing bodybuilding strongman, I'm kind of just training for life. I want to be all around fit. Kind of want to be like one of these dudes who can run a marathon and deadlift 600 pounds anytime he
Right.
wants. Like,
Freaks.
yeah. And so my mobility is definitely a limiter. Some of it, like this shoulder, eventually will probably need to be replaced. There's no real pain right now, but I've torn the rotator cuff, torn the labrum, separated the AC joint twice, torn the
Yeah.
bicep on this arm. Like I have a list of injuries. Thankfully, no pain, but the list of injuries is pretty long. Do you know who Juji Mufu is?
Yeah.
Dude's
Yeah. I've
crazy.
seen that guy. He could
Dude
do
is
like the side splits, like
dude
completely and
is
all that.
Yeah, dude is freaking nuts. Okay, so one of my buddies, I was just training with him yesterday, is like really good friends with him, and I was like, hey
That's
man,
to do with the long hair, right?
yes, that's right.
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
like,
Yeah. Yeah.
you need to put me in touch with Juji. I want him to coach me personally, and it would be fun to do kind of like a whole like a year long YouTube documentary. Day one I go to do the splits and I can like barely touch my toes.
Yeah.
And then maybe like a year from now, I deadlift 700 pounds and immediately jump into a backflip,
Right. Right.
into a muscle up,
Dude,
right?
that's
Like,
a
or
great
something
idea.
crazy. Yeah.
Here you got this big guy like you. What's your body weight right now?
I used to walk around at about 260, 265. Right now I'm sitting about 240.
Okay, so big guy like you starts off not a whole lot of mobility, but over the course of a year you track, and by the end of the year, like you said, you're doing something crazy. Pull 700 pounds, do a backflip, go into a split. That'd be
Yeah.
crazy,
So my
crazy.
buddy Anthony Furman, he's also an elite level strongman, won like world strongman games multiple times. Also a pro. I've competed against him at America's Strongest Man. And there was a year he was competing at OSG and he runs through the deadlift ladder and like it ends with like 765 or something goofy. And so he like deadlifts 765, but he had a CrossFit background. So he immediately jumps into a handstand walks over to the bar and does like 10 muscle ups. Just like I am the beast. I am an
Freak
elite
of nature.
athlete. Yeah, I'm a freak of nature.
That's
Yeah.
incredible, man.
It was super incredible.
Dude, I've become just like you, more and more fascinated with that type of mobility and explosiveness and just being able to be strong but also fast, like a weapon. You know what I mean?
That's
That's
right.
what I've been
That's
telling.
right.
That's what I've been saying recently. Is like I want to become a weapon. You
That's
know,
right.
there's that guy. You seen him, Tom Haviland?
That guy's next level. He never
How he
shows his
can jump
face.
onto like the hay bale that's like, I don't know, 10 feet in
Yeah.
the air with a weighted vest.
While
That's
he's in while
incredible.
he's in like jeans and a Timberland.
Yeah.
He's also like, what is he, like 6'8" or something
He's
goofy?
6'7", 6'8", and like 400 pounds.
Yeah, I remember he was trying to push like to get to 400 pounds benching. Like he did like I believe it was a 585 pin press. So it starts from the bottom and just bam.
Right
That's
up.
that's just stupid.
Dude,
Like
his
my
suitcase
best
deadlift with 405, he just stand up. You
yeah,
know what I mean?
my best bench press ever. I hit a 525 bench at my peak.
Nice.
And part of me still wants to chase that like and beat it just because I've always been a good presser. But at the same time, the cost to your shoulders. And
Right.
I'm like, and doing jujitsu, man, my shoulders are always getting. So
I
we'll
can
see. I
imagine.
don't know.
I can imagine. Yeah, I had a wrestling background myself, got into jujitsu
Okay.
for 3 or 4 years, still doing it, and then have since kind of transitioned to Muay Thai, more striking. I've become obsessed with striking. You know, jujitsu was, I don't want to say easy by any means. Learning, still a lot to learn. I still suck, but I was very competitive even up through as a brand new white belt up through the purple belts because, excuse me, of my wrestling background. You know what I mean?
That's
Having
right.
on wrestling for 14, 15 years, it came very naturally. So, but I was a very clumsy striker. And I'm like, I've got to polish that skill set. So I've been doing Muay Thai for about a year now. And
Oh,
I
that's awesome.
absolutely love it, dude. It is so much fun.
Yeah, I've been doing some private boxing lessons with one of the pro MMA fighters at our gym.
I think I saw
Uh,
that you posted a little bit of training footage one day, right?
yeah, it's a lot of fun. And
And you're training him, if I'm not mistaken. Was
no,
that
no,
the
he's
guy?
just no, he's just training me. He's just
Gotcha.
yeah, he's just teaching me how to not be a dork.
Right. Dude, when you it's humbling. It's so
It's
humbling when you put
so
the
humbling.
gloves on and you just feel big and stupid, you know?
Absolutely. And yeah, you're like, I am a professional athlete. Like I'm a legitimate professional strongman. I have earned my pro card and I feel like an absolute moron. It's good
That's
for
what
you
I
though.
say too, man. I'm like, I just feel big and stupid, you
That's
know?
right. That's right.
Big, stupid, clumsy, slow. But it's starting to come together. It's like anything, man.
Yeah, it
It's like
takes time.
anything.
You
Yep.
just got to put in the reps, man. If you want to
Yep.
be good at anything, I tell people all the time, if you want to be good at anything, you have got to be willing to suck.
Yep. That's it. Because everything you do for the first time, you're going to suck at. Most people can't get
Yeah,
over that. Most people can't handle like not being good at things. So they like stick with things that they're kind of good
that's
at
right.
instead of
That's right.
venturing out. You know what I mean? It takes a lot of courage to
That's
go
right.
and hit your first jujitsu class. It takes
That's
a
right.
shit ton of courage, an
Yep.
immense amount. It takes a lot of courage if you're used to wrestling and jujitsu to go to a striking class. You know what I mean? And
Yeah.
learn boxing or learn Muay Thai. So, uh,
Yeah.
yeah, it's because people just don't like being bad at things. But it's
That's right.
funny because most people that are afraid of being bad at things are mediocre at most things. You know what I
That
mean?
yes, yes. So I try to encourage people all the time. Like, look, you realize most American or most millionaires in America are self-made. So this idea that people have that everyone's just uh, if they're wealthy, it's because they were handed wealth.
Bullshit.
Well, yeah, most people are self-made, and most millionaires in America are C students.
Mm-hmm.
And do you know why? Because a lot of people who are A students who are perfectionists, right? They don't ever start anything. They don't want to take the risk because it's never good enough, right? Whereas, you know, if you're a risk taker, you're just going to go for it. You're just going to get it done. Let's just see what
Yep.
happens.
And that's what I love about capitalism. It rewards risks.
That's
It
right.
rewards risks, and that's the problem with being a perfectionist. Is there's nothing wrong with aspiring to a high level of execution. Nothing wrong with that, as long as you're balancing it with a risk taking, a propensity for risk taking. Because a lot of people, like you said, these A students, they come out into the real world and they're so afraid to not get an A, so to speak, in an endeavor, they won't even try it. They won't even pick it up.
Yeah, I truly think it's pride.
Yeah,
And it's hidden behind, they mask it. Well, I'm a perfectionist. Like, no, man, just call it what it is. You have a fragile ego and you're scared of failure.
right,
But failure is guaranteed if you don't try.
right.
Just go try. Who cares? If you fail, whatever,
That's
you
how you
learn.
learn. That's how you learn, man. You know? Um, I had a question. Oh, you still there?
Oh, I'm here. I got you, brother.
Um, so what do you think? Speaking of going from mediocre to being great, let's go back. How long ago was Anthony fat? How many years?
18 years.
What would you say if you could pick two to three things are the most fundamental differences between Anthony then, mediocre, maybe? I remember seeing the picture of you night and day. It's insane. It's
Yeah.
insane. It's insane. And I'll refer to your social media at the end so people can check it out. But what do you think, like the two to three fundamental, like core differences are between that Anthony and then the one that we're talking to today?
Oh man. Well, the level of discipline and the level of confidence. Those
I
two
knew you were going
things.
to say discipline. I knew discipline was going to be number one or two. I knew it.
Yeah. Well, here's the thing. A lot of people, they're waiting for motivation to be disciplined. I'm like, bro, that's not how that works, right? My mom always said something growing up: right feelings follow right actions.
Man,
Like,
that's good.
I'll tell you what,
Right
like,
feelings follow right actions.
that's correct. So guess what? It's 121 here. I've already had a brutal leg day today. I've already done all my cardio, like 10,000 steps in, and it's jujitsu tonight. And
You
I'm
got
not gonna lie.
10,000 in already by one?
Oh yeah, buddy. I get it.
Word, let's
I
go.
get after it. And so I'm feeling kind of tired. And like at this very moment, I do not want to go to jujitsu tonight. I'm going to, and on the drive home, I'm gonna be like, damn, I'm so glad I did that.
Gonna feel
Like
good.
I've never done a hard thing and then regretted the hard thing. And so at this point in life, anytime that I'm nervous about something or wary about, I just do it because I'm like, hey man, it's gonna suck for a second, but the water's fine. You'll be good. You'll survive. And so that discipline has carried over into life, and then confidence. I think confidence comes with that. I've taken enough risks. I've done enough hard things now to know what I'm capable of, and to know it's gonna be fine.
Right.
What's the worst thing that could happen?
I
You
want
could
to
fail and then you try
exactly.
again.
Yeah, I didn't want to forget this. I didn't mean to cut you off, but you said a key thing. When you're nervous or wary about something, you go and do it, right? Is that what you
That's
said?
right. Mm-hmm.
Okay. What so like somebody like you, just for all the listeners, that's an accomplished businessman, father, husband, pro strongman, athlete, winner, champion, right? Coach, athlete, all of these things. You still get nervous with new experiences.
Oh yeah, absolutely. But you know what? I have my dad to thank for this because even though I went through that chunky kid period and I had to put these things to work, I also had an amazing father who made me do hard things. So I remember we went to this amusement park and there was a roller coaster that went upside down. And I was like
Yeah.
9 and I was terrified to get on it. And he would not let me leave the park until I got on that ride. And then um, I remember I was like 7 years old, and my dad made me sing a solo in church, and I'm like crying. I don't want to go do it. He's like, you're
Right.
gonna do it. And
Yeah.
so I can point to specific moments in life, and these days soft parenting is in vogue, and I'm like, man, you're just raising entitled little shits. That's what you're gonna
Right.
do, and they're
Right.
not gonna be successful in life. And my kids are gonna be their boss, but that's fine.
Yep.
But my dad made me do so hard things, and I'm so thankful for that because I've just kind of learned like, hey, it's gonna be fine. It's gonna be fine. Just do it.
Yeah, I think it's cool to think about everything you've accomplished, the man you are now, but you still get nervous. So the point is for the viewers, and I'm the same way. I remember my first Muay Thai class. I was terrified, dude. I'm not gonna lie. I'm like, I'm gonna get hit in the face. I haven't been hit in the face since college. Like, I don't even remember what it feels like. I'm gonna suck at this. I'm not gonna be good. I'm clumsy. I don't know what to do. And I was nervous, but I still went anyways.
Yeah, I would even argue, because we talk about people that have courage, they're risk takers. Um, the people who are successful and take more risks are more nervous than the other person who doesn't because it requires nervousness. It requires fear to even be brave. Like
Right,
the prerequisite for bravery and courage is fear. So if
right,
you take more risks, that means you also endure more fear. And so the person over here can't say, hey, I'm just too scared to do it. No, the successful guy is literally more scared than you because is not that the illustration of the entire point in Hebrews when it talks about Christ being like, look, you don't even know what it's like to endure temptation truly because Christ did. He endured it all the way,
Right. Yes.
right? He knows what it's like to actually deal with temptation. We're a
Right.
bunch of wusses who give in.
We give in.
He went all the way, right?
He was the
So
only
he
one
knows
ever to go all
ever.
the way.
Yes, so he knows temptation to a greater degree than we could ever know it.
Dude, that's incredible. That's a key point, guys, that he just said there is that fear is a prerequisite for being brave. It's not bravery if you're not afraid. You know, bravery in and of itself innately is overcoming fear. So to recap, two biggest differences are discipline and confidence. So that's some good stuff, man. I know everybody's gonna appreciate hearing that. Let's switch gears to I got a couple things that I wanted to cover with you today, but the next one that I wanted to cover is talk to me about your family, your role as a father, as a husband. What's some, how important is that to you? I know very, very important. How important is that to you? And what are some lessons that you could impart on maybe some of the newly married? Let's start with your marriage. How
Sure.
long have you guys been married for, you and your wife?
Yeah, 15 years. 15 years this past June.
Amazing. Congratulations, brother.
Thanks.
We're going, I think, 5 here pretty soon. So,
Nice.
yeah, that's crazy. 15 years is incredible. What's some advice that you could give for some of the young couples, young men that listen about marriage? Just anything that you could impart.
Yeah, marriage is work. It's a commitment. It's a covenant that you make, and you don't. Again, the right feelings follow the right actions. When you're dating and you got those butterflies, you want to do everything to please this person, and you go like they can never do any wrong in your eyes, and everything's great. You know, they call it the honeymoon phase, right? After you get married, and then you're living with this person who does things differently than you, and you have disagreements and whatever else. And so many people in our culture, the second they run up against a wall and they come into disagreements, it's I fell out of love with this person, or we're just not headed on the same path, or whatever else. And no fault divorce, people just check out like a bunch of losers. And it's like,
Right.
hey, you made a covenant and a commitment. Here's the deal: your spouse is going to sin against you, and you are going to sin against her. That's why the vows are there. It's for better or for worse, in sickness and in health, till death do us part. So there's going to be some really hard times, but to the degree that you stick out the hard times, the good times are that much sweeter. And
Right.
so understand that marriage is work. It's a labor of love, and you're constantly changing because you have two people. My wife and I are drastically different people now than we were 15 years ago,
Right.
17 years ago when we first started dating.
That's a long
Um,
time.
that's a long
A
time.
lot of
Yeah.
time. That's a lot of life, man.
That's a lot of life. I never thought I would be doing what I'm doing now. If you'd have told me I'd be doing this full time, even a decade ago, I'd have been like, what are you nuts?
Were you a
Um,
playboy? Were you a little bit of were you like did you have like a lot of girlfriends, stuff like is that what you
No,
like you never saw
no,
yourself
no.
married?
I was a nerd, man. I
Good.
was and I still to this day, I'm a really good networker. I love people. I can be friends with anybody in any demographic. We go into a room of crowded people. I love it. I'll work the room and be friends with everybody. And then
Yeah.
also, I like my space. And when
Right.
I was a kid growing up, I just wanted to be left
Extroverted
alone.
introvert.
Yes, and I wanted to be left alone so I could read. Um, I read books all day. I didn't date anybody in high school. My wife is the second person I ever dated, and the first person I dated for a grand total of like 4 months because my mom hated her. So didn't
That
didn't get mama's blessing on that.
didn't work
And
out, huh?
mama's intuition was good. Yeah, that was so Lindsay was really the second person I ever dated, and then we've been together for 15 years. And it's been and we've had plenty of hard times, but it's made the good times so much sweeter.
Yeah.
And it's worth fighting for. Like your marriage, you should fight tooth and nail for your marriage, for your
Yep.
spouse.
Dude, that's great stuff. What's your favorite thing about Lindsay, your wife?
She is So many women, women, if you're listening to this, I'm not trying to be offensive, just being real.
They
So
listen to
many.
me, bro. So just about anything
I
flies.
was gonna say, actually, who am I talking to here?
He said,
They
"You're
if they
good.
follow you on social media, I can say whatever I want.
Let it rip." It's
Um,
funny because the ladies usually agree. The real
that's
ones
true.
agree.
Well,
You
listen,
know?
yeah, exactly right. Like, um, my wife came to me the other day and she's like, uh, if I if I could give if me giving up my vote meant that no other woman could vote, I absolutely would do it. And I was like,
What a
based.
that's a keeper right there. No wonder he's
Yes,
married for
based.
15 years.
Uh,
God bless her.
yeah, yeah. She's probably the least vain person I know. She kind of hates social media. She's naturally pretty. She doesn't wear makeup. Like she's just a minimalist person. She's not naggy, and she just wants to be at home and raise our kids and make sourdough bread for me. And I'm here for it.
Is that your favorite thing about her?
I would say her gift of encouragement. She's always which is really funny because if she listens to this, I'm like the eternal optimist. Anytime there's like bad news, I will see the opportunity in it. And she is like, she looks at the world and I have to remind her, like, hey, Jesus wins and like we're good. And
I
but
need to remind
she is
myself of that sometime.
that's right, that's right. But she's just she has the right spidey sense of like when I need encouragement and stuff like that. And so she wants to be a wife and a homemaker, but she makes it easy for me to do what I do.
Nice.
So that's helpful.
You can't ask for anything else.
No, yeah,
If they're encouraging, positive, they're not giving you a bunch of shit and they're holding down the fort. That's all. I don't ask for anything else.
yeah. She's the household executive.
Let's go. That's
That's
amazing.
what I tell my kids. You know, you look at the Proverbs 31 woman, she's the household executive. I'm like, so the kids are coming in and my wife's like, hey, no shoes in the house. And
Right.
I'm like, hey, take off your shoes. And my kids we're talking to them about these things as they're getting older. My daughter's 11 and and she's like, Dad, aren't you the head of the house? I'm like, I am, but I've delegated that authority to your mother. And if she says shoes off, my shoes are going off. That's how that
Yeah.
works. Listen.
What an astute comment by your young girl at 11 years old to even.
Oh, she did an entire what do you call those poster boards, like those three-sided boards you
Oh,
do
I
in
know
this?
you're like the at the science fairs.
Yeah, yeah.
I
My,
I know what
my
you're talking.
daughter's yeah, she's when she was like 10 years old and she did a giant one on like feminism and its failures.
What a what an absolute animal. That's
Yes.
incredible. That's
By
the
the
best
way,
I've ever heard.
she's walking through the room right now and she just overheard this and she's going like
Yeah,
that.
let's go. What's her first name if you're comfortable sharing it?
Yo, yeah, her name's Eliana.
Eliana, that's a beautiful name, man. That's you
Yeah.
got a great daughter. And then your
Yeah.
other real quick. I want to get into kids real quick. Who's your other shot? You
I
have
had
three?
Haddon. Yep, Haddon. He is 9, and then Gresham is 8.
That's right. That's right. I thought there were three. Great. We'll get into them in a second here. Backing up, if you're comfortable sharing, what was the darkest time in your marriage, and not even necessarily between you, or maybe something you guys overcame together, or maybe it was between the two of you. What
Yeah,
was like the darkest time in your marriage, and how did you overcome it?
we lived in Kentucky for 11 years. So I currently live in Pennsylvania. It's where I was born and raised. We love it here, love our church here, and want to die here. But we lived
Also, PA
there.
is the number one state for listeners. So shout out
Really? All
PA,
right, all right.
Pennsylvania boy right here. Let's go.
Let's go. So Lancaster County, Pennsylvania is where I live now. It's where I grew up. But we lived in Lexington, Kentucky for 11 years. I went to Southern Seminary down there before it went totally woke.
Of
So
course it did.
yeah, dude, Russell Moore was my ethics teacher. Like,
No kidding.
I want to get my diploma back. Can I get a refund?
Russell Moore was.
Russell Moore was my ethics professor.
Look him
Yeah,
up if you guys haven't heard of him. Just do. I'll let you guys make your own judgment calls on that one. But
yeah. Or don't look him up if you don't want to be enraged. So yeah, so we lived there. The hardest part about and the reason we moved back to Pennsylvania is Kentucky was beautiful. We had a good church family there, but we were on an island. We had no family around. And so, we were young and poor, newly married, and then kids come along. I'm in seminary. I was an operations manager for Starbucks, and I got recruited to Amazon. But essentially, we needed two incomes at the time, and so like during the day, Lindsay's home with the kids. We didn't want to do daycare, childcare, because we didn't trust that crap. So I come home from my day job at 3. By 3:45, she's out the door working 4 to 11 at the hospital. And so for several years, it felt like we were essentially single parents, just kind of like
Living separate
roommates,
lives.
living entirely separate lives.
Yeah.
And to my fault, we I was also at the same time kind of coming up the ranks in strongman, and I was super obsessed with that. And so on Saturdays was strongman Saturday. So Saturday day we both have off. Instead of spending time with the family, I'm spending like 7 hours at the gym, pouring myself into that. And so we started kind of really just growing apart over the span of 4 years, and then we had our kids in quick succession, right? They're 11, 9, and 8, and then
Yeah.
we wanted to keep having kids, and all of a sudden we were struggling with infertility. Like, what the heck is going on? Like, we never had problems before.
After 3.
After 3, and so we were praying and praying and praying and praying and praying. So finally, in 2018, Lindsay gets pregnant. We're so pumped. And she gets like 3/4 of the way through the pregnancy, and we lost the baby. And to the point where she had to go into the hospital and deliver the baby. Um, and it was just, that was tough. That was really hard on us, and it made her. I was trying to be the strong one, and like, not show emotion, but like, we're good, it's okay, we'll get past this. And it made her, she felt like I didn't care, which I very much do. Like, to this day in this desk, I still have the original onesie that we used to show our parents, like, hey, we're having another baby. Um, and her name was going to be Alethea. It's a little girl.
Oh,
And um, and so that made Lindsay just very angry and bitter at God, having prayed for so long, having this child and then the child taken, and then bitter and angry at me because she thought I didn't care. And it
right.
just led to, and then at the same time, like I said, I'm not leading my family well. I'm not praying with my wife. We're just kind of going through the motions. And dude, I'm not gonna lie, our marriage was teetering on the edge, and we
You guys ever
decided
use the D word?
one time, and then it was an immediate regret. It was like, no, we can't do that. We
Right.
just said that word's off the table. But
I don't even
because
like
of
to say it.
that's right, that's right. So because of that, though, because that came up, um, under solid advice, we said we need to move back home because everybody on here's the
Smart.
blessing I have. Everybody on both sides of my family, dad's side and mom's side, lives within an hour radius of Lancaster, Pennsylvania, and they're all Christians, varying flavors and stripes,
Sure.
but like, they're all Christians and they are all for us. My sister and brother-in-law live 2 miles down the road. My dad lives 12 minutes that direction. So we came home, all of a sudden we had um, babysitters who could take the kids. Of course, they want to see their grandkids,
Sure. They're
right?
thrilled.
Yeah. So we got into some marriage counseling. We're able to go date again. It was the game changer, which brings me to a point you were talking about a little bit earlier about just marriage and things like that. I think something our culture has gotten wildly wrong since probably like the 60s. Seems like everything stems back to the 60s, post-war era. Um, this idea that kids need to grow up and they need to go out and leave, mom and dad for
So
years and go,
fiercely disagree.
well, I do too. And now that I live in Lancaster, look, there's a lot of things that are weird about that, but the Amish people, man, they do something right. They do family right and they do community right. And so
Yeah.
now the way I'm thinking, like, in the next 2 years, I want to build a house, and so I want to build the house specifically such that I can have like the downstairs a sectioned off apartment. So when one of my kids gets married, they could potentially stay with us, save up money, and like not have to go out and incur a boatload of debt. Like, I
Guys
want like a
hearing this right now?
freaking
He's,
like I
I've been talking
generational
about
wealth.
this.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I want to build. The thing about the Amish people around here, it's so hard to buy land in Lancaster County. It's so expensive because the Amish will come in and they'll pay way above asking price because you know why? They don't ever plan on selling it, and they're buying for their generations they'll never see.
Right. They're thinking 3, 4, 5 generations ahead.
That's what I'm saying. And so that's the way. That's been a huge shift in my thinking. Is like, I'm thinking about my great grandkids who I will never meet, most likely.
Yeah.
Um, and so like that's what I'm building towards. And I grew up in this culture of Christianity that was like, God is most glorified by poor people. And I'm like, no, You're just you lack ingenuity and you lack ambition, and you hide that behind this. Well, I'm just going to be content and poor for Jesus. No, that's really stupid, because it says quite clearly in Proverbs that a wise man leaves an inheritance for his
For his
children's
children.
children. And then in First Timothy, it's speaking to the fathers, and it's saying if you don't take care of your family, you're worse than an infidel. That's
Yep.
working upwards. So like the concept of a nursing home to me is revolting.
Right.
Take care of your damn family. Like, I want to be wealthy enough. Um, I want like FU money so that my dad, when he's old, can live with me, right? I can take care of him. And I want to be able to give a good start to my kids and then them to roll that forward and generationally. So that's kind of my vision for my family.
That's incredible. And that's the same that I just did an episode on that. I don't know, about last week, 2 weeks ago. I think it was before the 4th of July, talking about the same thing, where I want to buy huge chunk of land. I'm looking at West Virginia, Arkansas, and Texas, leaning more towards West Virginia, Kentucky. You spent some time there, and a couple hundred acres, and moving everybody back together and not shoving the kids out of the house the moment they turn 18. If my children want to live with me for their whole lives, excuse me, get married and have kids and stay and work the land, like my vision is to have a community, like-minded Christians, that we all take care of each other. It's
That's right.
community. We help with each other's children, schooling, church every Sunday, a couple times a week. I would love to be able to do that a couple times a week, doing some kind of ministry several times a week within the community. My goal is to get myself in a position where I'm making all of the money virtually, to where nobody has to work. Here's your parcel, take care of the land. You've got cows. This guy needs milk. He's got chickens. He's got eggs. Boom. You know what
Yep.
I mean? Having like almost like a barter system, very hyper
Yeah.
traditional system like that.
We have to a small scale, so we're in farm country. So I love our church, All Saints Church here in
What
New Holland.
denomination?
It's the CREC.
Got you. Yeah.
Um, and so like I have in our backyard here, we've got like 20 laying hens. I do two flocks of 75 meat birds. I got my next flock coming in here soon. And like I'll keep some for us. I'll sell to people in our church. We sell eggs in our church. I'm raising a pig. My buddy Dan across town, he does the same thing with chickens. He and I go in together and buy chickens,
Oh,
and we sell all of our chickens to the people at church. And like we're getting some other guys with a little bit of land to
yeah.
kind of go in so that we can start providing people with good quality food. And so, yeah, we kind of have a little bit of that system going on right here in Lancaster County. And the Amish, like I said, they're a great pattern of that.
Oh.
People think of Amish as self-sufficient. They're not. They're communally sufficient.
Mm-hmm.
There's a difference. I think
If somebody needs a barn,
self-sufficiency,
the whole community
yes,
comes together and they build the barn in a couple of days together.
that's right. That's
Unit.
right. And so it's communal sufficiency, which is key, because God doesn't want us to be alone. He desires his people to live in community. Um, but you have the farm down the road, like you said, hey, they do grain, they do like three things. The other farm down the road, they're dairy, they do this, and this. And so they're all working together to help each other out.
It's the best. That's what I aspire to. So I've got a couple more things. No, we got about another 30, 45 minutes. I did want to back up to something. And if this is
Yeah.
something that you want to cover, I can edit this whole thing out. But um, I've lost three children myself. And
Mm,
um,
that's
I
hard.
also yeah, very tough. And just having heard your experience, I had another friend recently let me know that they lost their child at 41 weeks just 2 days ago.
Oh,
Absolutely devastating. And I guess, my question for you is, there is no way that we could relate or speak to the experience of the mother,
right.
but it's pretty commonplace to have miscarriages and stillbirths happen. As a man, looking back at how it happened with you, you mentioned she felt like you didn't, I don't know if we're didn't care or something like that, but you did. You were just trying to be strong. What advice? Because I just talked about this today on the earlier episode, speaking about grief in pain as a man, what advice would you give to a young father, or rather husband, that was about to be a father and they lost the baby? What's the best way you could support your wife? What would you do in that situation?
Yeah, well, what I would have done differently is show my emotion to my wife, um, without despairing. Women tend to despair. There's a way to grieve as a man. And I think I did it the wrong way, which was to simply stonewall any emotion and, thinking that that's strength. And it's like, no, you read through the Psalms, David wept
Yeah.
before the Lord and cried out in desperation. And I think there's a time and place to shed tears with your wife and let her see that you're grieving, but just make sure where you need to be strong is that you need to be her spiritual leader and not grow despondent,
Right.
right? Listen to her, um, and oftentimes as well, women just want to talk and get it out. So at first, those first couple weeks, don't preach. Just hug her, cry with her. That's it. Just
Right.
hug her and cry with her and be there. Um, and let her just like get it out. Now, as time passes, if she is um, continuing to be angry with God and despondent, lead her in the right path, not in a harsh sort of way, but this is where you come in with the confidence and say, hey, um, whatever God ordains is right, even if it's a really bitter providence. And we have the sure hope that our child is with Jesus and we will see them once again.
So how do you
Um,
reconcile that with your faith? Okay, you've lost a child. The wife is, she doesn't know who or what to be angry at. She's been praying for this. You lost it. How what you I know what you just said just now, but how do you reconcile that with your faith? Like, how specifically do you guide her and guide yourself, so that you have the right heart space, if that sort of makes sense what I'm
oh,
asking?
it does. I think it just literally comes back to trusting the character of God and his sovereignty that what he does is best, even if it sucks. And we're allowed to acknowledge it sucks, right? That doesn't mean just throwing on a cheery disposition about a really terrible circumstance, because God also grieves with us. He,
Right.
um, but trusting that, hey, the judge of all the earth will do right, and
Right.
it feels like a punt theologically. Um, but if the patriarchs can punt, so can I.
Right.
The
That's a
secret,
good point.
the secret things of the Lord, they belong to God. And I might not know why. Maybe someday he'll reveal why. Um, one thing I do take joy in is that, my daughter's calling an election is sure. She's in heaven.
Right.
I've got three on her here on earth that I need to pour into.
Right.
Um, and that I plead to the Lord that they follow hard after him.
That's a good
But,
perspective.
but,
Wow.
but, but Alethea, her future is secure.
Right. Man, that's powerful. That's powerful.
So
She's
it,
good.
yeah, it's
You know?
yeah, and nothing. She's good. Nothing. She's better than me. Nothing is easy about it.
Right.
But that's just it. So in Colossians, it says that we are to take every thought captive, and
Right.
I think that the danger comes in a lot of times um, we play a passive role in our thought life. We just let thoughts just bounce around, and we're specifically told not to do that. Take an active role, and when a thought comes in, you got to run that through the grid or the filter of is this true?
Right.
What do I do with this? Okay, cool. I'm really missing this child. Okay, that's fine. You should grieve this. I'm tempted to doubt God's goodness. Okay, well, no, that's not true. And the devil loves to sow these doubts, and our
Those little
flesh loves.
cracks.
Yeah,
Thing.
absolutely, absolutely. When you look the in Ephesians specifically, that we put on the whole armor of God, that we lift the shield of faith against the fiery darts of the evil one. There's some good theological arguments that specifically those fiery darts um, represent doubt,
Mhm.
because that's always the thing that Satan attacks with first. Did God really say? You sure about that?
Right.
It's the
Right.
very first temptation, and so that's what the shield
Very
of faith is.
inception of man and woman and Eve of the garden, you know?
That's right. That's right, and that's
You know?
yeah. That's right. And so that's what the shield of faith is for. It's for those moments. Well, faith in what? Well, not faith in what, faith in who.
Right.
And so, yeah, still not easy, but take an active role. So this is where it's a war, it's a fight. That's why it's described like armor. So yeah, this is not going to be something that just happens. You're going to have to fight.
Right.
But if we fight, we're assured of the victory. We only lose when we don't fight. So just pick up the sword of the spirit, which is the word of God, pick up the shield of faith, and just get after it. You can't lose. You're only going to lose when you refuse to do what God has said,
Right.
which is to get in his word and trust him.
Thank you for sharing that with us. I know that that's going to be impactful, because loss is a part of life. Loss is a part of life. That's just, that's what I was talking about this morning, is that life is a series of tragedies, one after another. We all experience things like miscarriages, stillbirths, death of, God forbid, the death of a living child. You know what I
Right.
mean? One that's been alive and living a life. I couldn't even imagine. Parents, loved ones, spouses. It's a part of life, and I firmly believe that you could really tell what a man's made of. Doesn't matter what he says normally, how he behaves normally. You could really tell what a man is made of with how he deals with tragedies. So,
Yeah,
I'm
C.S. Lewis said that. C.S. Lewis said that, um, pain is God's megaphone to rouse a death wound.
right,
Right? So you want to, yeah, exactly right. You want to see what a man's made of. Two things. How does he respond in pain, and what does he praise?
right,
And by praise, I mean the goofy kind of excitement, like you and I are watching the Super Bowl, and
right,
there's a 95-yard punt return, and
right.
I'm screaming and you're screaming, and we both go, "Did you see that?" And
Yeah,
we're
yeah,
like, "What a dumb question. We're both right here." But what's the point there? The point there that Lewis points out is when you get so excited about something that you can't help but express it, that's what praise is.
right.
It almost doesn't make sense. Like, yes, I can see that. I'm literally standing right here, but you're
Yeah.
so excited about it, it doesn't matter. You got to tell somebody.
You just got to let it out. It's
Got to
interesting.
let it
You
out.
just brought up C.S. Lewis when we were talking about the cunning nature of the devil and how he weasels his way in. I was thinking about the Screw Tape Letters, which I'm sure you probably read at some
Yep.
point.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I was just thinking about that as a side note. But so to switch gears, your children, the three that
Yes.
are here with us, and they're healthy and they're
Mhm.
amazing and they're sharp and they're smart and they've got a great dad and a great mom. What are some tips that you would give us about fatherhood, man? Like to if you were to really parse through your experience and sift everything out, like if you were sitting down with a young dad and you had a couple minutes to give him three tips, what are some of the things that you would tell him?
Well, you can't get back time,
Right.
and time flies faster than you think. I'm still a young man by many accounts, but just doing a little recollection,
How old are you again?
37.
37. Yeah,
So I'm a
young
young
buck
man,
like me.
but, how old are you?
A little younger, 32.
Okay. Uh, but my daughter's 11 years old, so she's already spent over half the time likely that she will spend in my house. That's mind blowing,
Yeah.
right? Um, so that's kind of like, wow, bro, you're over halfway to, if I'm raising my daughter to be a wife and mother, and if she finds a young man, and I'm not one of these who's gonna delay marriage so she can get a college degree. That's absolutely stupid.
Foolishness.
Um, so realistically, I mean, realistically, in a decade, I could be a grandpa. That's weird. That's weird, especially because I think back to a decade being like yesterday. Yeah, I still feel like a kid. So time, you can't get back time. So spend as much time as you can. Um, if I seek out ways to praise your kids all the time. So, and here's the reason why. One, it's a good thing to do, build up their confidence, just praise them. But then when you're constantly making debits, or when you're constantly making deposits rather into that account, that relationship, when you got to make a debit and have some hard discipline, you have a positive balance there, right?
Bro, we were
Like if
just
you
talking about that too. Deposits and withdrawals. I was talking about
Yes,
with employees,
that's
actually.
right.
It holds true with children. That's an application I've never used it in that application. That's
Yeah.
so damn true.
Yeah,
Deposits
absolutely.
and
I've
withdrawals.
used it with employees as well, right? Because employees, I used to be when I was at Amazon, I had 200 indirect reports, and I was always coaching other leaders. I'd say, hey, listen, don't whenever you're giving direct feedback, I freaking hate the sandwich method. Hey man, you're doing really good at this,
Good,
but we need
bad,
to talk
good.
about X because
Yeah.
then that conditions them to think every time a compliment's coming, but there's a but. And no, learn to just walk up and say, hey, dude, really good job on that thing. The end. Walk away.
Right.
Like they feel good about themselves. They're empowered to go. And then after a bunch of times doing that, hey man, we need to come in here for a second. Hey, I want to talk with you about the situation where X, Y, and Z happened. Like, tell me about that. Okay, cool. So here's what I saw. Here's what needs to happen differently. Right. So then you can have that conversation and
Yeah.
you make a withdrawal, but they already know there's so many deposits built up. They know that you genuinely care about them.
You got 100 grand in there from having loved on them, maybe,
That's
taking them
right.
out to lunch, remembered their anniversary, remembered their birthday, told them that they did a great job. You got 100 grand in there, you take out five. You're
That's
good.
right.
You
Yeah,
know?
you're good. You're good. So make constant deposits. Um, stress to your kids that this is going to sound weird, especially in our culture, that their mother is more important than them. Like so many marriages, is all kid centric. Then the kids leave the house and the parents get divorced. And
Yeah.
I make it very plain to my children. I love them. They are my world. I will die for them. And also, if you ever disrespect your mother, it's going to be a problem.
Yep.
And she is my priority,
Yep.
like, period.
Yep.
And so I saw that growing up and I loved it. I feel very blessed. Like I was, my parents weren't perfect, but they did a lot of things really well. One of the
Yeah.
things that my dad did two things incredibly well. He loved my mom and his discipline was like near perfect. So a lot of people don't like spanking their kids. That's fine. My dad whooped on my behind. But he did
Sounds
it
just
in
like my dad, dude. Same
but
thing.
he did it in like the perfect way. Like I would do something stupid that would make my dad irate, and he would send me to my room mainly, I think, so he could calm down. Because sometimes, depending on what I did, I might be in there for like an hour. Then he would eventually come in there and he'd have his Bible and he would literally like explain why he was spanking,
Yeah.
spank my rear end, and then stand me up. Like, or he'd get down on his knee when I was little and look me in the eye, and he would say, "Son, I love you and I forgive you, and we don't ever need to bring this up again." And then he
Right.
would hug. So he never rolled in there and like beat me out of irritation,
Right.
and
Didn't
then
beat your
stormed out of the
ass.
room and shut the door. And
Right.
I never got my ass beat. Right? It was corporal punishment. Like you directly disobeyed it. Now there's consequences. You need to understand that. Like I'm going to stay consistent with these consequences. It's like that's if you're going to do it, that's the way that you do it.
Sitting in there waiting, bro. Oh, just waiting for it.
Dude, when I was like
Nobody to
8,
send
I
for
would put
your
on
room. I used
I
to
when
put
I,
on extra pairs of underwear
yes,
and
dude,
shorts.
I
Did
would
you do it?
yes, I was getting ready to say that, man. Put on the key is to put on like jeans under some sweatpants, the
Yep.
baggy stuff on the outside. I would stick like two wallets in there. Yeah, it
Yeah.
never worked.
He had wallets. Bro, I remember being up there like, dude, I'm going to put on like six pairs of underwear, two pairs of shorts, sweatpants over the top. Yeah. When you're just sitting in there waiting, you're like,
That
oh,
was the worst part. That was
oh,
the worst
that was the
part.
worst. I almost would have rather have gotten hit harder and not had to wait. You know what I mean?
Oh,
It
yeah, it
was,
was that anxiety. Like, it's not like you could do anything fun in your room for an hour while you're waiting.
oh, you're
You're
just
just
sitting
sitting
there
there
like,
in fear.
yeah, terrified, dude. That's so we had it sounds like extremely similar
That's
experience.
right. Yeah,
Okay, so to recap with the children, time is running out. Spend as much time as you can with them, right? Deposits and withdrawals, making sure that you're making as many deposits as you possibly can. Excuse me, and then reinforcing the idea that it's probably God, dad, mom, kids,
that's
right?
right.
You
Yep.
know, good stuff, man. I think, let me think. I thought I had a question about what are some ways other than verbal praise that you make those deposits into your children's so-called bank account? You know what I mean? Their emotional account with you.
Sure, sure. Well, I mean, it's different things for different people. I treat my daughter differently than my sons,
Right.
right? So my daughter, it's little things like, hey, you look pretty, you look cute, you look good, right? For my son, as goofy as it sounds, walking by and throwing a pillow at him,
Uh,
and then we get into a pillow fight. Or
right.
dude, he's 8 and he's been coming to these boxing classes and he does jujitsu too. I freaking hate getting hit by him. He has such a strong punch, and if I'm not ready,
Really?
it sucks. Yes. He's also a tank. He's like 100-pound 8-year old. I kid you not.
What?
Yeah, he's a freaking tank.
108?
At 8, I know it's really stupid. And because this was like a year ago. He's 7 years old. I have weights out in the garage. He's like, Dad, I deadlifted 125. And I was like, no, you didn't, bud. And he's like, yeah, I did. I was like, buddy, you didn't. Like, I've showed him how to deadlift and stuff. He's like, Dad, I did. And he's like, I'm like, well, you did the math wrong. Like, let's go out and see. It was like, what did you do it on? He goes, that little curl bar. I was like, see, that little curl bar is only 15 pounds. He goes, I know, but I had this. I go out there. Sure enough, it's loaded up. And I was like, well, do it again. He does it for 3.
Really?
Yeah, kid's a
You got
tank.
something special on your hand
He's
right
well.
there.
Here's the thing. Like, I hope that he gets like. I'm not very tall. I'm 6 feet tall. So I'm like average. Well, my wife is 6 feet, and her dad is 6'1", and he was the shortest of all of his siblings. Her grandpa was six
There's some
eleven.
genes in there somewhere.
There's
There's some
some height. There's some height in there. So I'm hoping that, like, man, if I get this kid, he's like 6'3", 6'4", I start training him to be a savage animal.
animal. And what sport, if you could pick, not that we pick things for our kids, but which one would be most favorable for you selfishly? What sport for your boy?
Honestly, he's really loving jujitsu, like jujitsu and boxing. So I know those are more individualistic sports instead of team sports, but you know, I'm also raising him to protect a wife and kids someday. So I want him to be
Yeah.
a killer.
Yeah. So I think Gordon Ryan's pretty tall. He's like 6'3",
He's
6'4".
like he's 6'2" and like 245.
Is
Yeah.
he? Yeah, yeah. I knew he was pretty big. Yeah, he's the big name, at least in no-gi right now in the grappling world. Interesting character.
Yeah.
Interesting
Yeah,
character.
he's a super interesting dude.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, but he sells that type of person.
Absolutely.
Conor McGregor and
And he's elite.
UFC. Yep. And he
It's,
backs it up.
he's undeniable.
Undeniable. People will hate on him all day long. And it's like, dude, he is smashed. He will give the panel the submission he's gonna hit
Oh
and
yeah, before.
and then hit it, and then they'll open it up and be like, oh, he called it this to a triangle. You know what I mean? Crazy. Just wild, wild. I love the elite of the elite. I love watching I loved the run that the Patriots went on watching Tom Brady.
Dude,
That stuff, I love it. I love to see complete dominance. You know,
Yeah, I love dominance, but um I respect any like high level talent and craftsmanship and elite level skill no matter what it is.
same.
Like
Mm-hmm.
I watched that video or that documentary Free Solo with Alex Honnold who like
Yeah, yeah,
free
with the
soloed El
climbers.
Cap. He freaking free soloed El Cap, dude. One fart and he's dead.
Dead,
Just
dead.
dead.
Dude, he
Yeah,
sneezed. He's dead. He's gonna be pink mist. On the
that's what I was
platter.
saying, man. And so, like, I don't care what it is. You know, I could watch. I love watching the Olympics. Like, these are the best of the best athletes. It's the only time of year I ever give two craps about skating.
Yeah,
But I'm like,
yeah. It's
I
just, but
don't.
it's the best of the best.
But it's the best of the best. I like
I mean,
watching the
the
best.
level of execution, it's
That's
you
right.
can't do anything but admire the amount of work because you've been a champion. You know what it takes. You know
Yeah,
the hours. You know the grind. Like the average person that sits there on their fat, greasy ass and types all these comments has there's no reverence because they just don't. They have no frame of reference.
that's right. That's
Can't
right. I'll tell you.
possibly revere it because there's no frame. They don't know what it feels like to suffer like that. They don't know what it feels like to be alone when you're training and nobody else is pushing as hard as they don't know. They don't the sacrifice,
That's
not being
right.
able to eat what you want, do what you want, party, drink, all this other shit. People have no idea. There's no
That's
frame
right.
of reference. That's
I'll
why
tell you
there's no
what.
respect.
Bodybuilding was one of the hardest things I ever did.
I
Like
can't
even
even
harder than
imagine.
strongman. Like I've run marathons, I've done tough mudders, I've competed in jujitsu. Strongman is brutal. Strongman is just brutal on the body, but bodybuilding is so hard on the mind because like when you step into prep, you have like 5.5 months where you must be perfect. Everything because you got to be perfect.
And
Like
your
if I told
caloric
you,
deficit is crazy, right? If I'm not
I
missing, you're
mean,
eating.
it's not horrible at the end, um, but it's just again you can't miss. You just can't miss. Like birthday party, who cares? Anniversary doesn't matter. You're in prep,
So you're
and
focusing more on like diet. Like you
that's
can't
right.
miss your diet,
That's
right?
right. But even your training, all of that, it's bodybuilding's not hard on the body per se. It's the mind for enduring for that long and resisting temptation. Here's the deal. I've been getting back into running again. The longest run I did was last week. It was like 7 miles. If someone said right now you have to go run a marathon, 26.2 miles, well, that's gonna suck, and I'm gonna have to stop and walk a lot. But guess what? I'll be done before bedtime if I start
Right.
right now.
Right.
And so I'm not trying to mock, or knock on marathon running, but like it's a finite window of suffering,
Right.
like
Well, so
limited to
there's,
under
yeah.
half a day, a quarter of
Right.
a day. I'm going to be home by bedtime. My feet and legs will be sore. I'll be tired and I'll hate my life in the morning, whatever. It's over. The
Right.
suffering is done. Bodybuilding prep is like freaking 5 to 6 months of perfection. You can't miss on anything because the champion is not. Like, if you want to be good, if you want to get dialed in, you want to get into 3% body fat, you don't miss a cardio session ever. You don't miss a training session ever. And you don't vary off your diet ever.
And people
Can
will just
any,
say, sit there, the fat, greasy people that I mentioned before, they'll just steroids. And it's like they have no,
no conception.
like, dude, you could blast, listen, Larry, you could blast a gram of tren a
Doesn't
week and a
matter.
gram of test and a gram of this, and you wouldn't look anywhere
Well,
still looking like this guy.
no, and the thing is, like even the natural bodybuilders, like the natural bodybuilders get just as conditioned. The only difference is size.
Right.
The steroids don't do the work for you. They just
No.
enable you to train harder and get bigger. But
Right.
like if you look at natural pros, they're just as peeled. They're just not as big.
Peel.
And
Peel.
like absolutely peeled. And like there's not really a steroid, there's not a single steroid on the market that peels.
No.
Like there's no such thing as a cutting supplement. There are things that people will use that are more advantageous during cuts, but the purpose is to help maintain tissue, not to burn fat. The
Right.
closest thing you get in the enhanced world is maybe some clenbuterol
Yeah. Clem.
to
Yeah.
burn fat. And what that's doing is it's just elevating your metabolic rate
Right.
significantly. But you guess what? You can't just take that and go eat pizza. You still
Right.
have to
Cake
be
and
in
ice
the
cream.
deficit. And you got
Yeah.
to go get on the treadmill. Like the work has to be. The people that comment steroids, I'm just like, you are an unaccomplished, do nothing. I don't even care.
It's the same people every time, man.
Always.
Like I said, no frame of reference. Have no idea what it means to suffer and achieve.
That's right.
So we've covered a lot. Still a couple things while we have time that I wanted to plug through real quick. I do want to give you an opportunity to talk about your business, what it is that
Well,
you
sure.
do specifically with your coaching.
Well, I'll tell you what. It's interesting. So you probably saw back in April, I was in the hospital for a little bit, and I had an abscess in my leg, and it was during my last bodybuilding prep. Um,
Didn't you have rhabdo?
I did have
Yeah,
rhabdo.
that's two of us guys. So you guys were with me through my rhabdo journey. We got another. I've never met anybody else that's
Oh,
ever had it. So
it
Coach
was
Andrew
wild.
had it.
Yeah, I didn't it was tough because I knew I felt like dog shit, but I chalked it up to, hey, you're in prep, bro. Just and I'm a coach, so I got to lead from the front. And so my
Right.
thought was like, hey, you're in prep, just suck it up and deal with it. And so I just kept pushing. I honestly think that the abscess was actually like a gift. It got me into the hospital, like, hey man,
Way worse.
your kidneys are failing. Like we need to
Was it
fix
the
this.
C? What is it? The C something that?
Yeah, creatine kinase and
Yeah,
then
yeah, yeah, yeah.
CRP.
The
Yeah,
CK.
yeah.
CK. Yeah,
Well, yeah. So my C reactive protein, which is indicative of overall inflammation in the body. Ideally, you want to see a zero. The lab values standards in the US are like 0 to 3. Mine was a 59. So like
Well,
that,
damn, I
that
thought mine was high. Mine was like a 21, and my guy was
that's
like, dude, you gotta look.
that's right. Well, listen, I had been
59?
struggling for yeah, and so I've gotten since that hospital visit was such a blessing, man. I got so much clarity on exactly what I want to do with my business. Um, and so like I said earlier in the beginning, I coach athletes and I coach lifestyle clients. But I want to do, and my aim is always to do so much more than just here's a program, eat this food. It, it, when you're talking, people are checking in, and I go over things like sleep, hunger, energy, digestion, stress. So when you build a relationship with somebody and they open up about, the marriage falling apart, the finances, the wayward children, like job issues, all this stuff, um, it ends up being, I feel like I'm a lot of times a life coach, which I love because
How
I want to
awesome is that?
provide. That's
How
what I'm
awesome
saying.
is that?
I have I have a background in theology. I've taken a lot of counseling courses. And so, I mean, I've been on the phone just last week. I was on the phone with one of my ladies who lost a baby as she's crying, and I'm encouraging her. I've been on the phone with dudes as they're fighting for their marriages. And so for me, it's like I've worked with people who have lost weight, finally got the confidence they needed, started that business. And dude, I've got people that I've worked with that went from fat, lazy bum to millionaire. It's mind blowing. And I love that. And so ever since
Incredible.
COVID, like people have begun to realize that, hey, the government is not coming to save you. They don't care about your health. You are a
They're not
dollar
just
sign.
not coming to save us; they're coming to kill us. You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
they're trying to farm you. And so here's the thing. I want to educate people how they can own their health. I mean, even like the five basic biomarkers that determine whether or not um, all cause mortality, like whether or not you're going to die early, right? So we've got triglycerides, we've got waist circumference, we've got blood pressure, we've got fasted blood glucose, um, HA1C. All of those things can be managed at home. You
Right.
could do that. The only thing that you can't see from your house is your triglycerides. But we know that if you're keeping your HA1C and your fasted blood glucose levels in an optimal spot, your triglycerides by extension are likely going to be fine. But we're going to get lab work and check that anyways.
Yeah.
And so uh, I used to not require lab work. Now anybody that signs up with me, we're getting labs. I want to look under the hood, see what's going on.
I feel like that
Um,
makes too much sense.
yeah, I want to see what's up, and it's going to help me make better decisions in terms of dietary approach and supplementation. And I've worked with a lot of things. I've got 3 or 4 clients right now dealing with some pretty crazy gut issues. So we're got them on some protocols to deal with that. I've worked with a lot of females with hormone issues. I actually, it's gonna sound weird. I like the hard cases
Yeah.
because they just make me sharper for everything else down the road.
Sure.
And I've
Probably
spent
spend
a
a lot of time researching, right?
Absolutely. And I've spent much of my continuing education and one-on-one mentorships and things like that dealing with female hormones specifically because females are so much more complex. If you can coach a female,
Oh
you can
yeah.
coach a male,
Yeah, easily.
right? Easily. And so women perceive stress to a greater degree. Like 30 to 40% of women have PCOS and insulin resistance. Many women are under eating or at least under reporting, not getting enough protein.
Well, dude,
Um,
they've all been brainwashed to drink water and eat freaking salads. You know what I mean?
I know, it's crazy. Whereas most men, they come to me, they're like, "Hey, bro, I'm fat." And I'm like, "Cool, stop drinking a 6 pack of beer and hitting McDonald's every day." And then they lose 30 pounds. Like, bro, you're amazing.
Right.
And
Right.
I'm like, "Hey,
Very
high five,
simple. Like, yeah,
good
sure.
job."
I'm a genius.
Yes, I'm a genius, but that's just it, right? I think that people don't. The value in coaching is this. Um, it's not just, hey, I'm giving you a program. Yeah, people get coaches for 3 reasons: knowledge, accountability, or convenience, or a mixture of the three. My average retention is around 3 years. But I always say, if people are with me for 6 months and can't do this on their own, then I didn't do my job. But people stay with me because they like working with me. They know I'm going to check in on them and how they're doing.
Accountability.
The accountability, dude, I have multiple coaches for accountability and also convenience. Like you fall into two ditches when you self-coach. On the one hand, you're going to overthink everything when you do it yourself. Like, am I doing too much, not enough? And then on the other hand, you're probably going to give yourself slack where you shouldn't.
Right.
Like, I can skip that cardio. I don't need to do those Bulgarian split squats. They suck. And
Yeah,
so you have a coach, but then here's the thing, man. The second somebody starts paying money, they got skin in the game.
the game.
Skin in the game. They're going to start, they want to get a return on that investment. And so they actually start doing it and then they get that outcome. And I, as a coach, I'm in the passenger seat. My job is to lay out the plan, help them see roadblocks and detours, keep them awake while they're driving, so to speak. But they got
Right,
to drive. They got
right.
to do it. My job is front seat navigator, and to help them get where they want to go. And the
A
beauty of coaching
gentle,
is
gentle
this.
nudge on the steering wheel every now and
That's
again.
right. That's right. That's right. And my job, the beauty of coaching is like I was telling a buddy this yesterday who I told him he needed to raise his prices. And he was like, why? And I said, dude, listen, you've been doing this for almost 30 years. Okay. Um, so yeah, he's such a wealth of knowledge. He's probably and he wasn't even charging as much as I do. And I'm like, here's the thing, man. Money is a renewable resource.
Right.
Most people like they get paid every 2 weeks or something. You could just go make more money. When I get coaching from you, I'm trading this renewable resource for your 30 years of experience to get me from A to B.
Right.
Like it's the same reason that I pay my tax guy. If I wanted to, everything that he knows is on Google.
Mhm.
But how many hours and days and weeks would it take me to amass all the knowledge and practical application that
What's
he
the
has?
opportunity cost of that? You could have been coaching people, doing this, that. How much would that
Exactly.
cost you to learn all that shit? Guys, this is what I tell you guys all the time. Hire a
Right.
professional.
Yes. And so if you're out there and you want to lose weight, look, everything that I know through, 15 years of doing this, being a professional athlete and whatever else, everything I know is out there in books I've read, on podcasts. It's Googleable, but how long is it going to take you to learn all that I know and apply that? You could
Organize,
just
apply.
exactly. You could just trade a renewable resource and get my experience and get from where you want to go faster. It's why I hire my tax guy. That's why I have a guy that does all of my tech and my website because I hate that stuff and I don't want to learn it. Right. It's like pay a professional and you can then pour yourself because what you're buying two things when you get a coach. You are buying their experience in your own time because otherwise you'd have to figure it out on your own. So
Right.
I'm going to just buy your 30 years of experience and I'm going to buy my time back so I can go pursue other
Brilliant.
things.
Brilliant.
Yeah,
It's all perspective, man. That's an
that's right.
absolute brilliant, brilliant way to look at it, man. That's incredible. I hope you guys really got that. Listen to that a couple of times. That's how you should think about these things. I've got a renewable resource where I can purchase 30 decades of experience in an area from somebody who's a professional. Like you said, this is what I tell people all the time with the taxes. Hire a professional. Don't do it
Yes,
yourself. It's going to cost you X amount of dollars, but how much time are you going to save? And then how much protection you're going to have from having a professional on your side, making sure things are done right. That's
that's right.
right up right up this we're aligned perfectly in almost pretty much everything so far on this podcast. So
Love it.
last thing, because we're running out of time. Your faith. I want
Yes,
to close
sir.
out on this. What, and instead of just saying, oh, tell me about your faith. Obviously, I know what it is. What's your message to the listeners on the podcast in the day and age that we live? What if you could impart any sort of message? You've got an opportunity to preach, evangelize, whatever you want to do. What's the message regarding your faith in Christ?
Yeah, well, one, if you don't know Jesus, submit, bow the knee, and repent. And because the gospel is the glorious declaration of victory and an offer of amnesty from a conquering king. Here's the deal. I've conquered, and if you repent, not only will I not execute you, I will adopt you as my son and make you an heir, is what Colossians says. But either way, he has won. So you can bow now or bow later, but you're bowing at some point. Might not like it, but that's what's going to happen.
Right.
And then for the rest of you, because of that reality that Christ is king, um, quit being so freaking depressed. Like our world, yes, I get it. Like our world's insane. We live in fake and gay trash world. I get it. Trans story hour, whatever else.
Oh God.
Um, yeah,
Oh,
it's
Lord
horrible.
save
It's
us.
horrible. It's horrible. Oppose it. But like do so with a smile and a song in your heart. Like be a jolly warrior knowing that like Christ wins, he will have the prize for which he died. Um, Nothing annoys me more than a dour, depressed Christian. Like, stop. You can't lose. Just go like how fun is it? It's like as a kid, I used to play Tom Clancy's Rainbow Six, and I would
Oh
use all
yeah,
the cheat
classic,
codes. Yeah,
classic.
yeah, the cheat code die with your boots on. It was unlimited ammo.
Yep.
Which is so okay. Guess what? Christ has won. We can't lose. You can't lose. So like this is like going out and fighting a battle that you literally cannot lose. So
Right.
what are you doing being depressed and being sad and being discouraged about the state of the world? See it for what it is, revolt in horror at the atrocities, and then fight it with a smile on your face.
Right. Great stuff, man. Great stuff. All right. Well, this was good. I know you've got stuff to do. You're busy. So, we'll end it here. Just real quick, you are the Meathead Professor on Instagram. That's where
Yes.
people can find you. Twitter's the same, right?
Twitter is
Or
Coach
X.
Anthony. Yeah, X, whatever is Coach Anthony D. Meathead Professor on Instagram and Anthony Diehl on Facebook. There's a story behind that. I do. So we homeschool our kids, but they go to it's run by folks in our church. It's a class. It's a
Co-op.
hybrid between. It's not a co-op. It's a hybrid between a classical school, classical education, and homeschooling. So Tuesdays and Thursdays they receive full classroom instruction, and I teach high school logic. And so my students
Oh.
were like, "Hey man, you're like a meathead professor." And then someone was like, "You should make that your Instagram handle." I was like, "All right, cool."
Dude, it's catchy. It's
It's cat. Yeah,
memorable. It's perfect.
exactly.
It's
Yeah,
perfect.
exactly. So that's the
Like
story behind that.
I always like I've been like I'm gonna have the meathead professor on. People are like, who's that? I'm like, well, wait, you're gonna find out. You're gonna find out. They're gonna remember that.
That's right. That's right.
It's a really good name. Well, yeah, dude. So look him up. You can find the rest of his socials. Definitely, if you're looking into any sort of lifestyle, health, and fitness coaching, this would be the guy I would go to. And listen, guys, I don't say that lightly. Okay, this is a gentleman that I think you could learn not just health, fitness, wellness. I think that, like he said earlier, many of his coaching endeavors have turned into life coaching endeavors. This is a gentleman that I think that you could learn spiritually, mentally, physically, family, fatherhood, all of it from.
Well, and I appreciate you saying that. And I'll say one more thing here as well. I did just hire my first coach to work underneath me, and she's wonderful. Her name is Taylor. She's also a Christian, and she has a background in counseling and specifically working with mental health issues. And so I brought her on for four reasons. One, she's an excellent coach in her own right. She has fantastic character, and she's a Christian. She has that background in counseling and mental health, and she's a female. And I've had a lot of times, or sometimes there's females that just be more comfortable working with a woman.
Sure.
And so now, for any of your female listeners that are listening, I have Taylor on board. And so if you feel more comfortable working with a female, that's an option as well.
And we've got a lot of females. In fact, I think last year it was 51% was female. This year it's 48. So it's going back and forth.
Okay.
You would think many people think they listen to me and they're like, it's just all dudes. It's not. We have so many female listeners and supporters. And, I talk about
Awesome.
it a lot. I'm surrounded by women, my business partners, my friends, my wife, my two girls, all women. And I'm catching up to you. I just formally announced it today. My wife is already pregnant with our third. So
Yes, that's
yeah,
awesome.
yeah. So I'm gonna be catching right up to you. That so
I
you
love
have
it.
11, 9, 8. We're gonna have like 0, 1, 2, and then 1, 2, 3, 3, 4, 5. It's pretty
I
cool. What a
love it.
blessing.
I love it.
What a
That's awesome,
blessing.
man.
All right. Well, thank you, Coach Anthony. It was a pleasure having you on, dude. I didn't expect to go the full hour and a half. I felt like
Yeah,
it could have went 5 hours. So there's probably going to have to be a part two at some point because I know
absolutely.
people will want to hear from you again. So thank you, my friend. God bless
Yeah,
you. Thanks
man.
for joining us today.
Hey, thanks, brother. I appreciate it.